What's up, everybody? Welcome into A to Z Sports Picks. Brian and I are going to have a great show for you this Tuesday and get you ready for the betting week. Brian, it's good to see you, buddy. How we doing?
What's up, brother? Doing all right. Had a
Man,
little NBA slump here the last couple days, but I think I'm ready to snap out tonight.
yeah, I'll tell you this, man. We're in a weird time right now in terms of betting sports because you look across the board, and we're going to talk more about this. But you've got the NBA going on right now, where the regular season is about to end. The NHL season just did end, and then MLB. Obviously, that's a super long season. But what I mean by it is that, especially right now in the NBA and NHL, I mean, we've got teams that are in full tank mode, teams that have clinched, teams that don't care. It's a wild time, and anybody betting the NHL tonight, you're going to see a lot of different lines. And lines, I mean the actual lines on the ice. It's a wild time, man. We're going to jump into that. So everybody, welcome in A to Z Sports Picks. I'm Alan Bell, CBS Sportsline, alongside Brian Edwards of VegasInsider.com. A to Z Sports Picks is brought to you every Tuesday and Friday by BetMGM. They're the king of sportsbooks. Everybody download. Make sure you get that BetMGM app. If you do, right now, and you use promo code A to Z Sports, you'll get a risk-free bet of up to $600. No better time to do it than right now. We're about to hit playoff stretches in two different sports, and we've got the NFL coming up just around the corner as well. So that's BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years or older. Must be present in the state of Tennessee. For gambling problem support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789. So, Brian, like I said, good to see you, man. We're going to break down some NBA, some NHL, MLB here in just a minute. But, buddy, we've got another NFL tentpole event coming up tomorrow night, and we want to start right there with it. BetMGM's the king of sportsbooks. The NFL is the king of sports. And Wednesday night, we have the NFL schedule release coming out across the league, every single team, all 17 games, and we're going to get to see exactly where all of these teams sit, who their season openers are, all kinds of different things. And what we want to do is just kind of jump into that real quick, break it down from a betting perspective, and understand, you're not going to be able to do everything in terms of betting right now. It's still obviously so incredibly early. It's only May, but me and Brian want to take a look at some things that you want to take a look at in terms of when these schedules come out. So, Brian, a couple that I have right out of the gate, and I'm going to throw it back to you, see what you've got. First, obviously, when we get the schedule, we're going to get week one lines. They might come out Wednesday, might come out Thursday, but you're going to start to see them trickle in because books aren't going to wait at all. So that is exciting. We're going to have that. But a couple things to take a look at, right? And I'll give a couple, you give a couple. Let me know what you think. Obviously, find where teams' bye weeks are. With a 17-game schedule, we're going to see, obviously, a longer regular season and bye weeks get stretched out. Last year, obviously, during COVID, that turned out to be a very important matter. Hopefully, this year it doesn't, but finding teams that have bye weeks that are early, finding teams that have bye weeks that are late, finding teams that have the perfect bye week right in the middle, those things can help you kind of identify some areas where you might want to attack later in the season. Two, and Brian, I want you to talk about this. Long home trips or home stays, I guess you could say, long road trips, areas where you're seeing teams that are playing 3 weeks in a row on the road, at home, etc. Yeah, what are some things that you look at when the schedule gets released?
Yeah, so we've had the season win totals out for a couple of weeks, but it's kind of hard to, we know who each team is playing, but we don't know how it's going to be set up. I mean, you want to look for teams when you're on let's say it's a Monday night game. Let's say Atlanta has to play at Seattle on Monday night. Okay, that next game, they're not going to get back to Atlanta until Tuesday at like 6 or 7 a.m. And, they're going to be in a little bit of a vulnerable, what we call bad spot, if you will, that next week. You want to look for things such as that. If a team is playing on a Thursday night, do they got to go change time zones? Does Chicago have to go all the way to San Francisco for a Thursday night game? That puts them in a bad situation or spot, as a lot of gamblers like to use that verbiage. And, definitely if Seattle's got to play Miami on a Sunday, and then they got to play the Jets on a Sunday, I mean, are they going to fly back to Seattle? Or are they going to stay on the East Coast, live at a hotel for 2 weeks? you want to look for situations like that where, if it's otherwise maybe a toss-up game in your mind here, months before the season starts, as you're looking at a team season win total, if it's a toss-up game, but Seattle's got to be on the East Coast for 2 weeks, maybe as in terms of you looking at the season win total, maybe you say, okay, that is a game where maybe they're going to be an underdog, or maybe you lean to them losing that game. Just little things like that really help with season win totals. And, we'll obviously have the week 1 lines come out pretty fast, if not like within 12 hours. And then pretty soon after that, maybe within days or certainly within a week, we'll start getting games of the year to look at as well on down the line.
Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right. Those games of the year, they come out quick. And this is a really exciting time. I love when these come out. We get an idea. And I'll play a trivia game with you real quick.
Oh, I love this.
Last year in the NFL, there was a team that was an underdog in every single regular season game. Can you name that team? AFC West.
Broncos.
Correct. And there was a team that was a betting favorite in every regular season game last year, also in the AFC, but this team was in the AFC South.
Yeah, the Chiefs were underdogs at the Ravens on that Monday night game. So I'm going to say AFC South. Well, that's got to be the Titans?
Negative.
Colts?
Correct. Yep. That team was a betting favorite in every single regular season game last year. And just to kind of put a cap on exactly what you were saying, you're right. If you're betting season win totals, you want to find those irregularities. You also want to take a look, find the teams that are starting a rookie quarterback. Okay. Look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who are they going to start the season off with? Trevor Lawrence, obviously, he's going to be starting right out of the gate. You take a look at teams like the New York Jets. Obviously, they're going to have Zach Wilson, looks to start right out of the gate as well, and maybe even the Chicago Bears with Justin Fields. So keep an eye on those. Also find where the division games are. Usually the NFL likes to, kind of backload at least the last game of the season with those. But again, a lot of these, you really can't do too terribly much yet with it. But they're fun to find. I like finding, kind of where those irregularities are going to be. Also, you were talking about time zones. I cannot remember the exact week, but last year, I think it was like after week 5 or 6, somewhere around there, the Baltimore Ravens didn't leave the Eastern time zone, right? And that's why you see you see them. And they can, obviously they're a good team, but I mean, they can rack up. I think they've been the best team in the regular season, or at least in the argument for it, the last couple of years. So just little things like that. Take a look tomorrow night. You're going to see it. We'll talk more, Friday's show and then, then on. But as we move on, let's look at some games that we have going on today, what we can get actual bets on right now. And Brian, I'm going to kick it to you first. Give me 2 games that you're looking at, that you're betting on. What are you riding today?
All right, I'll give you 2 from the same game. I'm going to go with the Miami Heat at the Boston Celtics. Right now, most books are at 1 or 1.5, the Heat being favorites. And then I'm also going to go over 225 in that game. Okay, in terms of the over has hit in 9 straight for the Heat. Their last few have been like these combined scores: 254, 233, 240, 232, 231, and 227. That's their last 7. So those are all up north of 225. And, 6 of them are 231 or more. And then the over is also on a 7-1 run for the Celtics in their last 8 games. And these teams actually just played at the same venue in Beantown on Sunday, and they had a 130 to 124 score for 254. So I'm going to go the over on that one. Then I'm also going to go Miami, which is 9-3, both straight up and against the spread in its last 12 games. And on the flip side, Boston is just 3-6 straight up and 2-7 against the spread in its last 9. And from a morale standpoint, they took back-breaking news yesterday as they find out Jaylen Brown, the all-star guard, averaging better than 24 points per game, has to have season-ending wrist surgery. So they basically found out yesterday. I mean, they're going to the playoffs. They're going to be in the play-in tournament as the 7th seed, unless they went out and get pretty fortunate. But their magic number to be locked in the play-in tournament is only 1 or 2. So basically, they just got the news that they have no shot in the playoffs yesterday. So that has to hurt their morale. So I'll go Miami in the over.
Nice. All right. And we're going to talk more. I've got some questions for you in regards to that play-in tournament and the NBA, betting the playoffs, coming up. We're going to talk more about that because I got some questions for you in regards to it. Now, for me today, I've got two games. I'm going both MLB. I'm going with first the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm going to ride the +1.5 again. I think that they're on the road against the Brewers. I think that they win outright. The Cardinals have won 9 of its last 11 games. And you look at the Brewers, when Freddie Peralta is getting a start, he's allowed 15 runs over his last 21 innings versus the Cardinals. Again, I do think that they win outright, but I'm going to ride the +1.5 just to give myself a little bit extra of a chance because I want to hit this bet. And then the second one is Major League Baseball as well. And I'm going to take another road underdog. I'm going to ride the Reds going against the Pirates in Pittsburgh. And I'm going to ride the 1.5 as well. I think, again, the Reds do win this one outright. I think they won 14-1 against the Pirates last night, but I'm going to ride it. And the reason being the Reds are a perfect 4-0 straight up against Pittsburgh this season. And you look at the Pirates, they're 33% straight up this year when JT Brubaker is on the mound. So again, I'm riding two Major League Baseball road underdogs. I'm going to ride the run line +1.5 on the Cardinals and the Reds, but I wouldn't be surprised if both teams don't win these games outright. But talking about the NFL, what we were looking at earlier, speaking of streaks, Brian, take a look at some leagues right now. What do we have? What kind of streaks do we have going on that you see, things that people need to know about?
All right. Well, I've been talking about the Wizards for weeks, and they continue to just rip it up for our purposes. 17-4 against the spread in their last 21, and they're also on a 6-0 run to the over. Now they're off tonight, but they play at Atlanta tomorrow, just like they did last night, as Atlanta held them off and won by 1, but Washington covered easily as an 8-point dog. And also Atlanta has now just home specific at home. They've won 8 in a row. They're 7-1 against the spread in those 8 games. And going back further, Atlanta at home is 16-2 straight up and 15-3 against the spread in its last 18 home games. I mentioned Miami's, run 8-0 to the over going into tonight. The under is on a 7-0-1 run for the Clippers, and it's on a 10-1-1 run in the Clippers' last 12. And that's another play I'm on tonight. That's under on the Clippers under. I got a better number this morning, but under you still get it under 218. And the Clippers' last 8 games have had 206, 212, 205, 214, 210. And then they had 213, and then they had a couple that got just a little bit over 218. But I'm going to do under on Toronto and the Clippers. And another main factor for that is Toronto's tanking. Siakam, 21.4 points per game is out. Van Vliet, 19 points or better per game. Lowry, 17 and change. Anunoby, 15.9 points per game. All those guys are out tonight as they tank. One team that is in the lottery but not tanking, playing hard and effectively down the stretch, and that's Minnesota, and they're favored as well tonight. The T-Wolves are favored at Detroit, who is tanking and resting all their main guys tonight. Minnesota is 8-4 straight up, 7-4-1 against the spread in its last 12, and they're on a 11-5 run to the over. A team that is tanking is New Orleans. They're resting Zion, they're resting Brandon Ingram, they're resting the veteran center Steven Adams. But despite that, they're playing well for our purposes. The Pelicans are on an 8-1 against the spread run in their last 9. And y'all have heard me talk about their overs all year. And I think I mentioned last week or a week or so ago, they've started to hit some unders. The unders cashed in 5 straight for the Pelicans and 9 of their last 10. And then the last one I'll give you is the Sacramento Kings, who are also locked into the lottery, but they're actually playing well. They've won 5 of their last 6. They're 6-3 against the spread in their last 9. The under has cashed in 6 straight for the Kings and 8 of their last 9. And I'm not against going with their under tonight as they host Oklahoma City with a 224-point total.
They have to be the most streaky total team in the NBA that we've seen all year. It's unbelievable.
They go big over streaks, then they go big under streaks, then they go big cover streaks, and then they won't cover for 8 games. They've been crazy streaky in sides and totals all season.
Yeah, I mean, it's been nuts, man. And speaking of streaks, I got a couple things that I want to mention real quick. First, our guys, all right, the A to Z Sports Kings, all right. Austin and Zach send over a parlay that they had last night, 4-leg parlay. Okay, they've hit 3 of them. All they need are the Grizzlies to cover 5.5. What happens? To quadruple their money, by the way. What happens? A missed field goal or a missed field goal, a missed free throw with 5.9 seconds left that halts the cover of 5.5. Brutal for those guys. I hate to see it. Those are the ones where literally, I don't know how you are, but when you're sitting at the house, right, and you're watching it and you're saying, look, all I need is literally a free throw to hit this. It's really where you want to put an iPhone through your TV. You guys are probably not as aggressive as me. Like
in there.
Yeah, dude, it'll drive you crazy, man. So I saw that. I felt bad for those guys. That was a brutal miss by them. But, I mean, you know, when you're hitting 3 out of 4 on a parlay and you got a chance with just a free throw to hit that 4, you always had a good night. 2, speaking of good nights and good parlays, on our Friday show, we give a Friday parlay, each of us. Now, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. You hit again this Friday, right?
I did. That's 4 Fridays in a row. And hey, on that note, I will throw one out at you tonight if our listeners want to try it. And I'm sorry, I did not put it in the parlay calculator. I didn't get to it, but Clippers money line minus 1,000, Milwaukee minus 1,200, Sacramento minus 600, and Miami minus 120. I think it'll be a small plus because the Miami minus 120.
Yeah.
So there's a 4-teamer for tonight. All money line parlay. Obviously, 3 of them big favorites in the Heat. It won't count to my Friday streak, but
yeah, it's a good point. Like this doesn't count to the Friday streak, but it is real. And I'm with you. I'm gonna ride it just because you've been hitting it, man. So give it to us again. Who are the 4 teams?
Okay, the Clippers at Toronto minus 1,000, Milwaukee minus 1,200 at home to Orlando, Sacramento minus 600 at home to OKC, and Miami minus 120 at Boston.
Beautiful. I love it. Now, Brian, I've got another trivia question for you going to my streak, and I'm going to go back to the NFL. Okay? There's a team in the NFL that has not won a season opening game in 16 straight seasons. Can you name that team?
I'm just throwing darts at the wall. I'll say the Jets, but I have no idea.
No, but it's a team that you would think that would fall in this category. That's
Jags?
No, not the Jags. AFC though, and I'll give you AFC North.
Dolphins?
No, the North. The Cleveland Browns. Dom Odell, you're correct in the chat.
My bad.
Yeah, no, you're fine. And here's the thing. With that, now notice that I said winless. A couple of years ago, the Browns tied. All right, so they had a losing streak going. They've tied. We can't say the losing, but again, 16 straight seasons that they have yet to win. A regular season game. And we saw last year they started off with the Baltimore Ravens. I think they lost 38-6, somewhere around there. The Ravens have really been their kryptonite in terms of regular season games. So that's one to keep an eye on. Just see if they line up against the Baltimore Ravens again. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to wait to see a line, but keep that one in mind. Now, Brian, I want to kick this back to you for our final segment of the day, and we'll go through our picks again here in just a minute. And I want to make sure everyone seriously download that BetMGM app first. I mean, obviously, we're very thankful for what they do for us, but again, if you download that app and you use promo code A to Z Sports, you can get a risk-free bet of up to $600. I've done it. I've used it. It's fantastic. Trust me. And there's no app out there that you're going to see in the state of Tennessee, especially, to where they are kicking you all kinds of different, free bets, good boosts, lion's share boosts, things like that. I'm telling you, they are the best in the market. Download that app if you haven't. Use promo code A to Z Sports. So, Brian, the NBA season, regular season at least, is coming to a head. All right, we're about done. I have 2 questions for you. First, explain to me how the play-in game is going to work. How does this play-in tournament work? 2, how do you go about betting the first round? Is there anything that we need to know? I mean, we're going to see, high seeds, low seeds. What do we look at this like the first round of the NCAA tournament? What are your thoughts there? Break those 2 down for me.
Okay, so the number 9 seed in each conference is going to host the number 10 seed. So the 9 teams at home. It's a 1-game scenario, and the winner advances and the loser is out. Okay. The 7 team hosts the 8 seed, and the winner is the 7 seed. And if the 8 seed or whoever loses, like if the 8 seed wins, they become the 7th seed. And if the loser of the 7 at home against the 8 is not dead yet, but they play the winner of the 9-10 game at home. So let's say, so right now it's Boston is 7. So they would host Charlotte, who is 8. And if Charlotte wins, Charlotte becomes the 7 seed. Boston then plays the winner of number 9, Indiana would host Washington. The winner of that game would play at Boston, and the winner of that game is the 8 seed. So we're going to have 3 games, 7 versus 8, 9 versus 10, and the winner of 9-10 plays at the loser of 7-8. I hope that made sense.
Yeah. No, it does. Yeah, and let me say this. So when does this begin? Obviously, we've got a couple games left. You know, when are we looking at that this is going to start?
Okay, today's Tuesday. So the 6th, the last regular season games are Sunday. So I'm pretty sure one of the games is on Tuesday. So what's that? A week from today, the 18th. And then I'm pretty sure the next game, I think it's the 18th, 19th, and 20th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It definitely wouldn't put you on the spot there because again, the things can move, dates, whatever, right? But just to have a general idea, because again, there's a lot going on, especially with the NHL, that is, about to start their playoffs as well. Okay, so back to with the NBA. With that said, all right, so now say we get past that, the play-in tournament, right? So break down for us what the first round of the NBA playoffs looks like, right? Like how many games are we looking at? What have you seen historically, in terms of, are you expecting, blowouts? And again, I understand, that you've got to see the full sample, of seeds and where everybody sits, but, kind of just in general, is this, a 16 versus 1 seed NCAA tournament type thing? Right. Are we looking at 8s and 9s? Are we looking at close games? What are your thoughts in general in regards to it?
Well, kind of how I was talking about Boston. Like I think they took their death blow losing Jaylen Brown yesterday, and they've lost 6 of their last 9. So I just don't see Boston being a threat. I think when whoever they play, I think is going to just smash them. I think they will roll over easily. Charlotte is a team that's not healthy. We don't know if Gordon Hayward's going to be back. Devontae Graham is one of their better players, has missed a ton of time lately. Now, LaMelo Ball is back. But, who's hot, who's banged up, missing key players? Like, if Charlotte doesn't have Hayward, they have no shot. Now, Washington is that team I've been talking about that's hot as a firecracker. I mean, I think if they get in, win in the play-in and get in the 8th seed, I don't really care who they're playing, man. Now Bradley Beal does have a hamstring issue. As long as he's back 100%, and we'll know more about that later this week by Friday, I think they're a dangerous team. And the way the Knicks and Hawks have played recently, I think that the winner of their series, if they stay where they are now, Atlanta and New York can both be caught by Miami. Miami could throw a monkey wrench into that. So, but I think the New York-Atlanta winner could give Philadelphia some problems. As I look at the West, man, the Lakers they got to get their stuff together, man. But it's going to be awesome if Golden State and the Lakers, win in the play-in, and they are right now the Lakers are 7 and Golden State's an 8. I mean, Utah and Phoenix are the 1-2. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Golden State or the Lakers beat Utah or Phoenix, and that's going to be way different than most playoffs that we see. In terms of looking at Denver at the 4 spot, they lost Jamal Murray. That really sucks. They've got a couple other guys out right now, like Will Barton. We'll see if he's back for the playoffs. Dallas, Porzingis has been hurt. We'll see if he's going to be healthy. Portland's a team that's finally healthy and is coming on. They're in the 6th seed. The West is wide open, and especially when you look at the 1 and 2 seeds have to face the dangerous Lakers, who are only in the 7th seed because Anthony Davis and LeBron missed so much time, and they're the defending champs. And then Golden State, with the way Steph has been playing, when he can drop 55 on any night. Now, that's like if it was the NCAA tournament 1-game scenario. It is a 7-game series, but Golden State can be dangerous. So there's just a few thoughts. Injuries and momentum, I think, are a big part of it. And then matchups. We don't know all the matchups yet, but how they fared in the regular season could play a big role just and give you an idea of the matchups, like literally on the court, like the guards and the big guys, et cetera.
Yeah, totally. And that has a lot to do with it. Obviously, I mean, we've got to see the seeding. We've got to see, what games, we're looking at before we start really breaking it down. And we'll do that, obviously, a little bit clearer of a look, on Friday, but next week's shows, obviously, we'll be able to break that down more. Now, really quickly, kind of before we wrap this thing up, you talked about the Lakers, right? And all the focus is going to be on LeBron. Any idea when he's coming back, what it's going to look like? I mean, we saw him make his return already, and he quickly went back on the shelf. Any thoughts there? And the Lakers as a whole, because he's really not the only one that's been injured, really as of late all season.
Yeah, so they're saying LeBron is most likely to play tonight. We'll see on that. I think it's going to be a game-time decision. If not, they're saying tomorrow. But Dennis Schroeder, who I talked about a little bit last week, averages better than 15 points and 5 assists per game. I'm not sure of his timetable. I know he hasn't been mentioned as coming back tonight or tomorrow. Was there another question I'm forgetting?
No. That was it. I mean, honestly, that was it.
We'll see.
Yeah. And again, it'll be much easier to answer these questions next week, when we have an idea of exactly where these playoff seedings sit. But, really quickly, last question that I have for you is are there any big changes that you see right now in terms of championship futures betting, right? And we don't have the numbers in front of us. Don't worry about that. Just the focus of the teams as a whole. I think the Nets probably sit as the leading favorite right now. Any thoughts that you're seeing, anything that you notice, in regards to futures? And it could be, like you said, with the Celtics dealing with just such a massive blow, that they're done. Any thoughts that you have in regards to NBA championship futures?
Yeah, so, and part of it is probably the Lakers' struggles and the uncertainty with, Schroeder and LeBron. But the Nets, from last week to this week, they went from the plus 240 favorites to plus 200. The Lakers had been plus 350. Their odds got a little longer. They're now plus 400. The Clippers moved from plus 500 to plus 550. Then you've got Utah at 7-1, Milwaukee plus 750. And Philadelphia's jumped from 12-1 up to plus 750. And Phoenix shifted from 16-1 to 14-1 in the past week. So there's just, you're getting, if you're liking the Lakers, you think LeBron's going to be good to go, you can get better odds right now than you could have last week.
It's probably the best time to do it, honestly.
Right.
If you're going to jump on them, this is probably the best time to do it. So before we wrap up, let's take a look back at the bets that we have. So, Brian, if you could do for me really quickly, lay out the 2 bets that you have today, plus the parlay that you had, I believe, the 4-legger.
Yeah, so let's go Miami -1 or 1.5 at Boston. Let's also go over 225 on Boston at Miami. And let's go under 218 on the Clippers Toronto. And then in the money line parlay, let's go Clippers, Milwaukee Bucks, Sacramento Kings, and Miami Heat.
Beautiful. All right. And today I've got 2 MLB plays. I'm going with 2 road underdogs. I've got the Cardinals plus 1.5 on the run line against the Brewers. And I've got the Reds plus 1.5 run line against the Pirates. So to wrap it up, again, thank you everyone for tuning in the chat. We really do appreciate it. Let us know who you're betting on as well. We would love to see the picks that you have for today. Remember, this show is not just me and Brian. It's all of us together. So let us know. What are your 2 best plays that you have going today? Let us know on Twitter. So for Brian Edwards, I'm Alan Bell. Let's cash some tickets.
Good luck, everybody.